for some info before we introduce our speaker for today.
Thanks, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. Just have a few housekeeping items as normal. We are recording this session, so it will be available on our YouTube page and website in a few days. If you have any technical issues, please put those questions or issues into the chat, and I'll do my best to help you through those. Just be aware that generally it's due to your Wi-Fi connection. If you have any questions during the presentation, please put those into the chat, and I will prompt Mr. Kandle as needed. If everyone can remain muted throughout the presentation as well, so there's no background noise, that would be wonderful. And there is one button I'd like you all to avoid hitting. It says Present Now. It's at the bottom of your screen. Please do not hit that, as if you do, it will interrupt the presentation. And finally, if anyone has called in via telephone today, if you can send me an email at mfrey@pgahq.com. That way we can make sure you get your MSR credits for this morning. I'll turn it back over to you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Well, hopefully everybody knows Dean or knows of Dean. He's quite infamous. Dean has been the head golf professional at St. David's for 10 years now. It's crazy how fast time goes, right? He is our current District 6 director on our board of directors. He is our reigning Golf Professional of the Year and Professional Development Award winner. He's also the 2019 recipient of the Professional Development Award, and he is also our 2018 Bill Strasbaugh Award winner. Along with all of that, in his spare time, Dean runs a website called Golf Professional Growth, and also the Getting Better Now podcast. So today's topic is a culmination of conversations and information Dean has gathered over his time running that website, doing his podcast, talking to other professionals in this arena. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Dean. Dean, thanks so much for the time today.
All right. Thanks, Jeffrey. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. This is awesome. We got a great group, and I really hope everybody gets something out of it. Some of this maybe you've heard before. Some of it may be a refresher, but some of it may be new to you, in hopes that you can apply this in 2021 and going forward to help you with your time management, your productivity, and to ultimately add more value for you and your facility. So I'm going to bring this up here and get this started. Oops. Need my speaker notes. All right. So I don't have to tell any of you about how crazy 2020 was, and we won't spend too much time talking about it, but it is relevant to this topic. I think, so many of us set record rounds at our clubs. Our membership rosters are now full to capacity with waiting lists that we haven't seen in many, many years. I know at St. David's, we have a waiting list now that I don't know if we've had ever. I think one of the most craziest stats that we saw about 2020 was that through the end of April, as we were closed, nationally, we were down 20 million rounds versus 2019. So down 20 million. And we ended up at the end of 2020 adding over 50 million rounds versus 2019. So down 20 million in the spring and ended up adding 50 million. So we're not going to see really a slowdown in 2021. Some of us have seen this even this January with weather that's been just average. And we've had days with 100, 120, 140 people on our tee sheets. So this isn't slowing down or changing in 2021, which is a great thing for the great game of golf. And it's a great thing for our facilities. But the conundrum is that the busier we are, the more rounds, the more revenue, the more members, more club events, more outings, more players, more lessons that we have, the more we have to do. So as the PGA professionals, we're the ones making it happen. We're the ones putting the hours in, putting the key in the door every day. And so more hours and more work means that we've got more to do, more time away from our families, less free time, more stress, pulled in more in many different directions, sometimes like never before. And so going into 2021, our skills in time management have never been more important. But this isn't necessarily new for people that have been in this business for a while. Being busy as a PGA professional is a way of life. This poster that's hanging in a lot of offices that they don't put out anymore, which I think is good. This is indicative of all the things that we're supposed to be experts in, all the different places that we're getting pulled, all the different types of people that are looking to us for our expertise. This poster says, look at everything that we can do. We're great. We're PGA professionals. But you can also take a look at this and say, look at all the things that we have to do, and look at all the things that we need to be able to balance in order to do our jobs as PGA professionals. And so sometimes that makes us come into work feeling like this, that, all we're doing is fighting off things that are coming at us in different directions. We're just playing defense. I think the difference between this slide here and reality is that Bruce Lee's actually winning here, fighting all these things off, all these people off. And a lot of times at work, we don't feel like we're winning. We're playing defense, and we're just trying to keep our head above water, and we're just trying to keep up. And that is the challenge, and that's why our time management skills are so important. So as I said, I don't think being busy as a PGA professional is new, but there are new challenges that generations in the past didn't have. And it essentially breaks down to this slide right here. And if you look at that third phone in, that BlackBerry, third in from the left, I think that's where this all started to change. This was when we had the quote unquote convenience of having a computer in our pocket that was going to make things so easy for us. So we took the mentality that we had as PGA professionals and as customer service professionals, and we applied that to this new technology and said that I'm always going to be available. You can always reach me. I'm going to take care of things right away, just like I always do at my club. And we had that internal drive to be responsive, to show our members and customers that we were good at what we do and that we're hard workers. And I go back to a story that I recall from about 2006 when I was working at a club in North Jersey, and we had a bunch of Wall Street guys that were members there, and they had this first BlackBerry where they're walking around spinning the wheel on the side, and they had their Bluetooth things hanging out of their ear. So that was the first time that members were coming at me using this technology, whether it was text or email. And I was having a conversation with my boss at the time, and he said, yeah, I was going back and forth on email with a member last night at 11:30 at night. I said, 11:30? He's like, oh yeah, they love it. They love it when you're always getting back to them. And when you're getting back to them that late, they know that you're really working hard. So that's what I mean by the old mentality with new technology, because that's not a pace that you can sustain. And it shouldn't be a realistic expectation from the people around you. So it's my contention that that old model doesn't work in 2021, and that really one of the keys to being successful in our positions, one of the major keys, is being able to manage everything that's coming at you all the time. And this goes beyond just your ability to succeed at work. It also applies to home, because we have obligations to our people at work and our people at home. Personally, it impacts your well-being, and it certainly impacts your health. It's that important. So why am I talking about this? Jeff mentioned a couple of things that I've been involved in, but for me, I'm talking about this because I felt all this pain. And as I started at St. David's in 2011, everything was about building more. And a few years into it, by about 2014, I was feeling the pressure of more and more and more and more. At home, I had 2 kids under the age of 4. We were at the club. We were as busy as ever prior to this year. But it was more events, more programs, lots of teaching. I was never out from under my email. I couldn't catch up on that. Every Monday that was a quote unquote day off, if I decided to get away from my phone for that day, I knew that I was walking into a firestorm the next morning. So there was this pull to just, hey, stay up to speed on a Monday. So it never felt like a day off. And eventually I felt like I needed to do something about this because I had always felt like I was really organized coming up as an assistant. I felt like that was one of my strengths. But once you add all these other responsibilities, that really gets tested. So I picked up some of these books that you see here, starting with Getting Things Done there. And I started to implement some of these systems in ways that work for me, not to a T, not word for word, as the way that are outlined in some of these books, but using some of these ways and methods to help me feel like I wasn't missing anything, like I could accomplish everything that everybody needed from me. And slowly but surely, I started to build a better system. I started to build some trust and some confidence in what I was doing. My stress levels came down. I wasn't waking up in the middle of the night anymore, wondering if I had remembered to get back to so-and-so. So things got a little bit easier. And eventually I decided to start documenting some of this just because every time I was in a room full of golf professionals, all we talked about was how busy we were, how we lacked the work-life balance that we wish we had. And it seemed like everybody was struggling with this. So I had felt like I had found some ways that were helping me, and I might as well document this and start putting it out there to anybody that was willing to listen in the hopes that it might help them. So I've been speaking to successful golf professionals and successful professionals from other industries about how they stay productive and how they handle all of their obligations and all their priorities, and started compiling all of this. I've written about it in the productivity series, which you can see on that site if you want to go a little bit in depth more than we're going to do today. But so, as Jeff mentioned, this is basically a compilation of all this great info, the research that I've done, in hopes that it helps you feel more confident and be able to build a more trusted system. But a couple of quotes that I think this all comes down to before we get into the real meat of this is my favorite one. And this to me just shows the importance of having systems, because it doesn't matter how lofty your goals are, whether you want to be a great head professional, director of instruction, general manager, or if you can apply the same thing to your golf game. If you don't build the systems, it doesn't matter what your goals are, because you're never going to be able to reach them, because you're never going to be able to do all the work that you need to reach the finish line on those goals. These quotes are by James Clear, and I think this one just proves the importance of the overall of time management, productivity, on how it impacts your career. That when you look back at your career, your success will be the result of the decisions that you make every day. And those are based on your priorities. So if you don't know your priorities, you might make the wrong decisions every day and get your career off track. We don't want to do that before it's too late. John Maxwell is a leadership expert and just a machine of quotes. So you've probably seen him different places, but the second one, the secret of your success is determined by your daily agenda. I believe that's how important this is, that we can't succeed unless we're doing the right things on a daily basis. So now getting into what we're going to talk about these are 10 tactics based on what I've learned from the research and from talking to successful people. This is what productive people do. This is what experts do in order to work smarter. So some of these hopefully stand out to you as something that you need to change in the way that you manage your time and manage your priorities. And then hopefully on the flip side, you're already doing some of these. So let's get rolling here. So the most productive people, they focus first on results. It's not about getting more things done. It's about getting more of the right things done that move you, your career, and your facility and the people around you in the right direction. So again, it's not about getting more things done and just checking items off your to-do list. It's about getting more of the right things done. Seems obvious, but we don't always think that way. The analogy here to use is in our golf games. So if a student says to you that, hey, this is the year 2021, I'm going to get better, I really want to improve my game, and you ask them what they're going to do, they're going to say, well, I'm going to try to practice and play more. But we know that if you're not working on what your weaknesses are and practicing efficiently and effectively, you're not going to improve. And it's the same thing with our time management. So I believe there is no such thing as time management. It's really priority management when you break it down. So knowing our priorities and then knowing, basing those priorities on producing the results that we need to in order to move ourselves and our facilities forward is where we need to focus. So an example of this for me is priorities based on results are I always think about our golf shop at St. David's. So I don't own the golf shop, and it's the club has said to me over the years that they don't see the golf shop as a profit center. The golf shop is a service. Therefore, when I think about the results I need to produce, being a great merchandiser is good, and I want to run a good profitable business and a responsible business. But if I spend majority of my time worrying about the merchandising operation, I'm not concerned then with the results that the club actually wants to see. So this is also known, was said to me by Robert Sorecki, the GM at Medina. He put it this way: know how your club keeps score. So these are conversations that you have to have with your club leadership, or if you're an assistant, that you have to have with your boss, your supervisors, to know what's important to them so that you're focusing your attention on producing the results that are going to help you move forward. It's so critical. Like this quote at the top, there's nothing more useless than really focusing on something that doesn't even need to be done. And I think sometimes we can get bogged down in the details, and that hurts us in our time management because we feel overwhelmed and stressed. And it might even be something that we don't even need to do. So an exercise that will help you with this is defining your 3 R's. So your 3 R's are your role, your responsibilities, and the results that you're supposed to produce. So your role is not necessarily your title. Your role is all of the hats that you wear within your position. So as a head golf professional, I might be a teacher and a coach. I'm a mentor to the staff. I administer our tournament program and our event program. I oversee and create our budget. So I'm creating. I have fiscal responsibilities. So those are your roles. What are the responsibilities within each of those roles? So as a tournament administrator, you create the tournament programs. What are the results that you want to see from that? We want to drive participation and run a great program that keeps people enthusiastic about the club and coming back and participating in our events. Actually spelling these things out, your role, your responsibilities, and the outcomes and results that you're supposed to get from those responsibilities will help you start to manage these priorities and start to rank them in order after you've had these conversations with the people that you report to. And that's when you want, and that's how you want to manage your priorities. And this leads into number 2. Is that successful people and productive people, they schedule their priorities. So now we know them, we know our priorities, but it's true. What gets scheduled gets done. So the challenge for us is that in customer service, a lot of times we let people dictate our priorities. We have a plan when we get into work, and then people need things from us, members and customers need things from us, and that gets us thrown off track. That's why it's critical to schedule these priorities on your calendar. So that gives you a sense of control. You're not wondering if you're going to get something done that day. You have time allotted on your calendar to get it done, and that's going to give you that sense of control, that sense of confidence, and eliminate feelings of stress and overwhelm. Again, it just like I said, it reduces stress. One tactic to use for this is calendar zero. So if you're familiar with zero-based budgeting, where you give every dollar a job in a budget until you have $0 left, you can do the same thing with your calendar, where every day, whether it's the day before, the night before, or the morning of, preferably before you get to your job, you want to schedule everything that you're going to do that day, and you want to fill up your calendar. Now, what I don't mean here is fill up your calendar in 10 and 15 and 20-minute increments so that you have 27 different things that you think you're going to get done that day, and you have to stick to a rigid schedule. We'll talk later about how many things you should plan to do in one day, but filling up your calendar with your priorities first, you're making an appointment with yourself to get the important things done that you need to do. I can't encourage you to do this enough, especially the busier you are, the more this creates that feeling, a sense of control and confidence. Number 3 is people that are really productive do not work with their email open. So now we're getting into some real tactical stuff here. This is part of dealing with new technology, not that email's that new, but and being able to manage this when we're trying to get our work done at the club. So your inbox is not a to-do list. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make in time management, is they use their inbox as a to-do list. Your inbox is a place for messages to come in and for you to process those messages. Just like if you had a paper inbox with people dropping messages on it on your desk. So when you close your email when you're trying to get work done, it decreases the need for you to respond right away and feel like you need to get back to these people right away that end up at the top of your email inbox. And it increases your ability to focus on the work that you're doing and get the important things done. Obviously, you'll be more productive. So part of scheduling your priorities, obviously communication with our customers and members is important. So you want to schedule times that you're going to process your email. Put that on your calendar, give yourself plenty of time to get it done. And then when you're done with that, close your email and move on to something else. The triage method is something that you probably do instinctively, but this is a good thing to use if you're saying I need to check my email. Well, you probably already do this in a case where, let's say you have an 8 a.m. starting time in an event. You pull into the parking lot, you're about to go to the range and warm up, get your shoes on, whatever, and you look at your email, see if there's anything pressing in there. You get back to the 2 people that you need to, then you put your phone away and you're done. That's the triage method. You can do that in the morning and then get to the club, work on your high priority tasks, and then check your email later. Inbox pause is something I'll talk about from a program called Boomerang. I use this all the time. The busier I am, the more I use this, and it'll just pause your messages coming into your inbox. And so you're not tempted to check them as you move along. So number 4 is productive people recognize distraction, and distraction is the enemy of achievement. And we know now that technology is built to distract us. Whether it's social media, email, or even the news, they want us in their app. They want us in their program. They want us clicking on the next story. So we need to recognize that. Anybody that's seen The Social Dilemma, that makes this pretty clear how they're trying to trick our brains to keep us in their apps and their programs and on their websites. So we need to recognize that and make sure that we're not letting those things distract us while we're at work. We will be interrupted. We're in the customer service business, so we don't get to just close our door and just do focused work all day. We will be interrupted, and you need to understand how you're going to address that. And one of the ways that when you're scheduling your priorities and you're scheduling what you need to get done, if you give yourself more time than you think you need to get those things done, then when somebody knocks on your door and wants to come in and chat for 2 or 3 minutes, it worked up, you're not feeling like you're behind or that you're up against this deadline that you're not going to make. You've built in some buffer time, and that's a great way to deal with interruptions or whether you have to go help a member with something. This one may be blasphemy for some of you, but turn off the notifications on your phone. I have two types of notifications that come up on my phone. I let my text come up, and I let Slack notifications come up, which is the app that we use to communicate on our team at the club. So everything else is off. I don't have email notifications popping up at all. It's been years since I've had them popping up. I think at first I was worried that I was going to miss messages. I haven't missed any, but it doesn't pull me away from what I'm doing by looking at my phone all the time because it's buzzing or beeping. And then especially at home, I think that's where that's really critical too. So those notifications aren't popping up for some email that I don't need to be worried about at that time, because my priority should be on the people that I'm with at home. So turn off your notifications. If you're worried about it, give it a shot for a couple weeks and see what happens. Now in the off season, it's probably a good time to try that. Don't consider yourself a multitasker. There's nobody that's a great multitasker. All you're doing is splitting your attention and reducing your focus on the tasks that you're trying to achieve. So you'll be worse at what you're doing the more you try to multitask. And there's science behind that. The two types of distraction that there are, we've been talking about cognitive distraction. So this distracts your mind. These are all these things from technology. These are people knocking on your door, or calling you, whatever it may be. This distracts your mind. And then there's opportunity distraction. And this is on a grander scale. This is more big picture. That if you have goals, you have aspirations that you want to reach in your career, maybe you have them in your golf game, you have them in your personal life, that opportunities can really distract you from your goals. So whenever you say yes to an opportunity, or you're presented with a new opportunity, you want to look big picture and say, is this going to distract me from where I want to get to long term? These are just some crazy stats about phones. I won't read through them, but a couple point these out. And this is how distracting our phones can be. We get on average 94 text messages we send and receive a day. I think the one here that's most incredible is that this estimate that the younger generation will spend 10 years on social media when it's all said and done. That's insane. Think of what could be accomplished in 10 years that's spent on social media. So recognize distraction and how you can combat that. Number 5, productive people understand that anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And this is difficult in customer service because we are trained to say yes. Anytime somebody comes at us and asks us, can we do something? Will we do something? Are we able to do something? We're trained to say yes. But understand that once you have an idea of your priorities, once you know the results that you're being paid to produce at your facility, once you know what the expectations are from you, that's going to help you say yes to the right things, and then understand the right way to say no without letting people down. So making sure that your yeses are aligned with your priorities first, that when you say yes, you're making time for things that matter, that are high return tasks and activities. Learn how to say no. This goes back to a workshop we did a couple years ago at St. David's from Richard Gallagher, who wrote the Customer Service Survival Kit. That's a book everybody should pick up. Again, the Customer Service Survival Kit. If you weren't at that seminar, he taught us that how to say no in a really effective way that wasn't going to put us in a bad position. It's not just about, hey, Dean, can you do this? No. Dean, are you available for a lesson? No. That's not the way it works. There are effective ways to say no by acknowledging what the person needs and then creating alternatives for them. Simplest example is, I'm not available for a lesson now. I have other obligations, but I can do it tomorrow, or I can do it today at 4:30, whatever it may be. So understand, we're in the business of delivering bad news. Sometimes the right thing to do is to say no if it's not aligned with our priorities. Number 6, the most productive people, they know when they work best. So there's a book by Daniel Pink that's called When, and he talks about your chronotype. I think simply we could think of this as, are you a morning person or are you a night person, a night owl? He makes based on his research in this book, he says most people are morning people in that they're more productive in the mornings. our bodies are ready to go. We're ready to do more challenging work, more thoughtful work early in the mornings. If you haven't paid attention to this before, you want to start to really pay attention to this for yourself, because this can really boost your productivity if you know the times that you work best. So this is about scheduling. So once you know this, let's say you work best in the morning. I know that's when I do. So anytime that I have challenging work to do, I have to do stuff that I don't really want to do, but it's going to take some mental energy. I need to do that in the morning, and I need to do that before I start to get interrupted with a lot of other things. That may be, say, this fall, it was working on my budget for 2021. I know I can't do that at 4:30 in the afternoon. I have to do that at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to be more productive, and I'm going to get it done quicker. One tactic people have called or have used is eat the frog first. So if somebody said you have to eat a frog today, and then the rest of the day you get to do whatever you want, you would want to knock that out first just to get it over with, so then you can get on with your day. So the toughest things that you have to do in a day, if they're going to take mental energy, you want to get those things done first. So schedule yourself accordingly. Don't push these things off till later in the day if that's not when you work well, because it's just going to take you longer. You're not going to be as effective, and you're not going to be as focused. So pay attention to your chronotypes. This applies to the work week as well. I know that as I get later in the week, I'm not as productive on Thursday, Friday, Saturday as I was on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I front load a lot of my work during the week on those days, and then the other days during the week, I won't have as many tasks that are going to be mentally challenging to do. So just as I front load my day, I front load my week as well. So pay attention to yourself. If you find yourself that you're putting something off, on Saturday, I'm going to knock out this thing that I've been putting off, and then you get to Saturday and you don't feel like doing it and you don't do it, then you're really pay attention to those times, because you could be more effective front loading that earlier in the week. And then something that we probably neglect a lot during the season is our sleep. So we're not going to be as productive as we should be if we're not getting good sleep, we're not getting restful sleep, and we're not getting enough. So 5.5, 6 hours on a regular basis isn't enough for you to stay productive. So just pay attention to that, especially during the season. So number 7 here, the most productive people do. Now, they don't overestimate what they can do in the short term, but then they also don't underestimate what they can achieve in the long term. So what I mean by this is, I mentioned this before about scheduling your priorities. And you don't want to schedule yourself in these rigid 15-minute blocks. That's overestimating what you can do in a day. So one thing that you can implement is the rule of 3. The rule of 3 says that you want to take 3 high priority tasks every day, put those on your to-do list and on your calendar, schedule times to accomplish 3 high priority tasks every day, and only 3. You shouldn't push yourself to do 4, 5, 6, or 7. These are 3 high priority tasks. And if you can consistently knock off 3 tasks that are important to you, important to your facility, important to the people around you every day, you're going to consistently achieve more over the long term. So consistency is the building block of success. Now, when we're talking about scheduling 3 things, I don't mean that sign up Sally Jones for the shotgun, have a 2-minute meeting with your assistant, and then answer an email. Those aren't 3 high priority tasks. Those don't move you and your facility forward. But 3 important things that you can, maybe it's creating a really detailed lesson plan for a program that you're going to run. Maybe it's creating a new event and working out all the details. Maybe it's communicating to your membership with an email blast. I would say those are 3 high priority things that if you can get those on your calendar every day, over the long term, you're going to be a lot more productive. So number 8, this is something that every time I asked a successful golf professional on the podcast that's working at big, busy clubs, how how they do it. How do they get it all done? To a man, they all said that they've learned how to delegate. They also said that they had to convince themselves that they needed to be great delegators. That a lot of times, as we're working up the ladder in our careers, we get to where we get to because we're great at doing things ourselves. We're great at checking off boxes, accomplishing tasks. We do it all ourselves. More is better. It helps us prove our worth to our clubs and to our managers, and helps us get to where we want to go. But when you get to a management and leadership position, delegation is critical, and all great leaders are great delegators. I love this quote from Craig Groeschel, who's a leadership expert, has a great podcast. It says, if you want to create followers, delegate tasks. If you want to create leaders, delegate authority. So that's putting the onus on us as managers and leaders to delegate authority to the people around us. It's a great thing for their development. It's our obligation for their development, but it's also a way for us to get more done and focus on high return activities instead of getting bogged down on things that we should be delegating to others. Now, if you're not in a position where you can delegate a lot, that's, this is something to understand and know as you work your way up. It's just a way to look at what you're doing, what tasks keep coming at you, and thinking, is there somebody better off to do this task? So as managers, if we're thinking about what tasks we should train people to do, to delegate, there's a rule called the 50X rule, which has been popularized by a guy, Rory Vaden, who wrote Procrastinate on Purpose. And he says you should invest up to 50 times the time it takes to complete a task to train someone to do it. That it's worth investing 50 times the time it takes to complete a task to train somebody to do it. So if you have a 5-minute task that you do every day, his point is that you should invest up to 250 minutes, which is over 4 hours, in order to train somebody to do that task. And over time, taking that task off your plate, you're capturing 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Now, if you look at something that takes you an hour to do, and you do it several times a week, then you spend 50 hours training somebody to do it. It sounds like a long time. It is a long time, but you're gaining an hour here, an hour here, an hour there to invest in more high return activities, or maybe you can invest it in yourself. Maybe you can invest it in your golf game. But that's one key to delegation. Another way to look at it is the 70% rule. And this is something that I think works really well, and something that can help any of you out there that may be perfectionists and you don't like to delegate because you think people might not do it as well as you could. So the 70% rule says that if somebody can do a task or a job 70% as well as you can, you should delegate it. So that can be tough because that leaves 30% there that could go wrong, or there's 30% that won't be done as well as you can do it. But if there's somebody else on your team, somebody else at your club that can do a job 70% as well as you can, then that should be delegated to them so that you can focus on something else. And so, again, especially if this is something that gives them authority and it gives them a feeling that they're gaining more responsibility, they're gaining more of an opportunity to make an impact, that'll make them feel like they contribute more. It'll make them feel engaged, and it'll free you up to then focus on, again, some more tasks that can help drive you and your club forward, like I keep saying. And number 9, productive people always look to automate. So with technology these days, there are more options than ever to try to automate tasks. So if you find yourself doing a lot of things with pencil and paper still that can be automated, this is a great way to free up some time for yourself. So in our personal lives, one of the easiest ways to do this, or best examples, is bill pay. I think that, these days I spend about 2.5 minutes paying my bills every month. So something that used to take much longer, a lot more time, now takes a couple minutes. Try thinking about what tasks you keep having to do at work. What tasks does your staff and the staff at your facility have to keep doing? Is it able to be automated? Golf Genius Golf Shop is another tool that we use. I'm sure some of you are using it as well. When it comes to automation, it automates your email notifications that go out to your members when an order is placed and when one arrives. So those are emails that we were sending out as a staff. Now they're automatically happening. So that saves a few minutes each time for each staff member that they can use to get other things done that they don't have to anymore. And also make sure that those emails are going out in a timely manner. Email templates is a great another way to automate things. So an email template, what I mean by email template is if you find yourself getting email requests consistently from, just say, not necessarily from members, but from the outside, this works well. You find yourself consistently getting these messages. You need to respond to them, but they just sit in your email inbox because you don't really feel like it's time. You need to respond to them right away. You can create templates that you can cut and paste into an email and just hit send if it's the same response over and over. Perfect example that I use this for is I get a lot of emails, requests to donate foursomes to different charities and different causes. So at St. David's, I'm not really allowed to give out foursomes. So I have the same response that goes out to generally everybody. And I usually get them from people I don't even know. It's just kind of a cold email. So I have an email template that just gets pasted into that email. I hit send and it's done. They don't know that it's a cut and paste. And it's nicely written to just say that I'm just not able to do it, but it saves myself some time. Because I don't want to let those just sit there and not get responded to, but also it's monotonous to write the same thing over and over again. Another one is when I get a request for outing information. So I book the outings at St. David's. We get these requests a lot. It's the same response back to somebody every time. I just use an email template to respond to that, and that starts the conversation rather than me having to take 5 minutes to type that out. So I use a program for that called Text Expander, which is about $30 a year, but you can have these you can have them in a Word document that sits on your desktop, and you're just grabbing that right away and cutting and pasting that in there. Another hack for this is to use different email signatures. This works in Gmail or Outlook. So everybody has their signature at the bottom, says your name and your title, where you work. You can create as many of those as you want. And with a couple clicks, insert that email signature that has this template in it into your email, hit send, and you're done. So that's a little quick way to create those templates. But I'd encourage you, especially in the off season, now that we have some time, think about the things that you keep saying all the time to people and create those templates, because that's going to create some return on your time. And last but not least, number 10 here is that productive people, they truly understand procrastination and that it's something that we all fight. I fight it, you fight it, we probably always will. But beginning to understand why we procrastinate can help you work against it and defeat the procrastination, especially if it's something that's really holding you back. So a few reasons why we procrastinate. One would be if we're not committed to the reason why this needs to be done. This would be a manager assigns a task to you that you think is pointless. You don't know why you have to do it. You don't think you should be doing it. So you just keep putting it off. That would be you're not committed to the reason why. Number two is if you're a perfectionist, that can also lead to a lot of procrastination because you're putting a lot of onus on yourself to get something done perfectly. And that can seem overwhelming. So the more overwhelming it is, we tend to put it off. This one for me is the reason why I procrastinate more often than not is I'm just not clear on the next action. So there's a project in my head, something that I need to get done. It's going to take multiple steps and I just haven't defined what the next action is that I need to take to move this forward. So in Getting Things Done, David Allen talks about a next actions list, not a to-do list. So writing your to-do list with action verbs telling you exactly what you should do, what's the next step that you have to take. So just writing budget on your to-do list is not a next action. What's the next thing that you have to do in order to move that project of completing your budget forward? Or maybe it's something as simple as regripping somebody's clubs, and you write Smith's clubs or Smith's grips on your to-do list. Well, you need to find out what grips Mr. Smith has. You need to find out if you have them in inventory. You need to find out or you need to order them possibly, and then you need to do the grips. That's being clear on your next action so that you can take, you're looking at your list and knowing exactly what you need to do next rather than sitting there and deciding what you need to do. Number 4 would just be a lack of vision for the future, or what benefit this is going to provide if you actually do this task. When I was thinking about this, I thought in our industry, we see this often with associates that aren't moving through the PGA program. They're not. One of the reasons they do that is they don't see the benefit of getting their PGA their membership or moving on to level 2 or 3. So it gets procrastinated. So they procrastinate on it. So some ways to fight this is really truly ask yourself, why are you putting this off? Is it any of these reasons? Lack of clarity, lack of desire, or do you just not have the skills that you need in order to get this thing done? Are you trying to do it at the wrong time of day? Again, eat the frog first. Are you putting something off and then trying to complete it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when you should have done it at 7:30 in the morning? Are you burnt out? Is it from working too many hours? Are you just not engaged in your position? That is going to definitely lead to procrastination. I was able to talk to a guy, Ken Coleman, who wrote the Proximity Principle. We talked about careers, but we also talked a lot about burnout. That's from episode 4 of the Golf Professional Growth Project. I'd encourage you to listen to that if you have some questions about burnout or want to know how to combat that. But that's obviously going to lead to procrastination. Some other ways: batch your work. So if you have a lot of tasks that are similar, knock out schedule time on your calendar to do all those at the same time. This includes meetings. If you put off meetings, have an afternoon where you knock out 4 meetings that you need to have at one time rather than spreading those out. Again, schedule it. I can't encourage you to do that enough. What gets scheduled gets done. And then these last 2 are kind of go together. You can gamify or time it. So and then tie that in with a reward. So I really don't feel like doing X task, but I'm see if I can get it done in 25 minutes. And then when I do, I'm going to go out and hit some balls, or I'm going to go out. If I can get it done in 25 minutes, I'm going to go out and play 9 holes, or I'm going to go home, whatever it may be. Just ways to play little games with yourself to help you get motivated to knock out some of these tasks. I'll just point these out before we take some questions. These are some of I use all of these apps here. I do have these put together with some more detail on a page on my website. If you go to golfprofessionalgrowth/tools, and you can click on all of these links. Boomerang is probably the best thing out there for email right now. It works with Gmail and Outlook. It now has a really robust scheduling tool. So if somebody says, do you have time for a lesson this week? You can use Boomerang, the free version of Boomerang, to send back times that you're available. This eliminates back and forth. And also, you're just saying when you're available. They can't see your calendar, but you're putting 3 times on Tuesday, 3 times on Wednesday, and 2 times on Thursday that they can pick from. They feel like you're giving them a lot of options, and you're in control of when they see the times that you're available. It's also great at scheduling emails, which I know a lot of different email programs can do, but scheduling email can be really good for you. I use it a lot on Mondays. Like I said before, Mondays sometimes don't feel like a day off when our members just get to their desk and start firing messages at us. So I'll block off time at the end of the day on a Monday, and I'll schedule all of my emails to go out first thing Tuesday morning, like 5:30 a.m. And to me, that just helps send a message that, hey, I was off on Monday. I'm still being responsive by getting back to you first thing in the morning. And then I'm knocking that out on Monday, and I'm not behind the 8 ball when I walk in on Tuesday. So Boomerang's great at that. Also, you can set these messages to come back to you whenever you want. So I'll use that a lot if, say, I just book an outing and they're going to be on Monday, June 25th, and I just booked it today on January 28th. Well, I'll schedule that email chain to come back to me on May 15th so that I can then it's a trigger for me to reach out to them and see if they need anything for the outing. The other thing on here, SaneBox, that I use, that's a filter that also does some of the same things. It's not free. It's $100 a year. It's an awesome email filter that gets smarter the more you use it in filtering out emails into different folders. So I couldn't get by without that. Todoist is my to-do list. It's awesome. I've used all of them, I think, or a lot of them, and have settled on Todoist over the years. It syncs through all your devices, whether you're using Macs and desktops and combinations of iPhones and iPads. It works on all those. The paid version is only $40 a year, and that lets you you have Todoist in your email. If you want to put an email that has say it has a task that you need to accomplish and you want to put that on your to-do list, you can do that through Todoist right in your email. And Trello's our project management tool that we use internally to help keep everybody on the same page with our events. It's where I put all the details for events. It's 2 best balls, 4, 90% handicap. These are the tees we're playing, whatever it may be. Then the person running that event just goes into Trello, sees all the details, sets it up in Golf Genius. That way they can create a format sheet or a PDF in a PDF and drop it into Trello and say, hey, Dean, can you check and see if this is correct? I can comment back to them, tag them, and they can see that. We can communicate that way. Calendly is a scheduling tool that now I used to use all the time, and now I use Boomerang, but you may want to check out both of those, especially for y'all that if you teach a lot and you're looking for a calendar tool, Calendly is probably better for that than Boomerang is. And there is a free version that you can use to get started. And then these are the books that I had on that slide earlier. Again, these are all on the site as well. I encourage you to dive into any of these that could help you. So I know this, I just threw a lot at you. Hopefully you're able to take some good info from this to help you start to build systems that could help you be more productive. And again, understanding that the point is not just to do more, but to do more of the right things that move you and the people around you towards your goals. So thanks everybody for listening. I'd love to take any questions if anybody has any.
Hey, Dean, just to kick off real quick, fantastic stuff. And as Matt said, this will be on the website. And Matt, maybe what we do is we put a little time management box on our next newsletter and have some of Dean's resources in there too. That would be pretty cool, I think, to share with the whole section. So they have that, all his tips and tricks in there. Would be pretty neat. I think everybody struggles with it, and you covered it early in your presentation, but how do you have that conversation to set boundaries with your membership as far as expectations, as far as how quickly you're going to respond, being always on and, like you said, having that computer in your pocket and feeling like, I think we all have that urge to just, have it with us and respond all the time. But, do you have any thoughts or best practices on how you have that conversation with setting those boundaries?
So I haven't had those conversations with the people that I report, let's say my golf chair or my women's golf chair. It's more so changing your mindset and being okay with not responding right away, because you're confident that you have other things that you're doing that are important, and that first that email as it pops in isn't the most important thing to you at the time. So I think, and it's different for everybody. If I were single and, not married, no kids, and I'm sitting home at 9 o'clock at night, maybe it makes sense for me to answer emails. I'm getting them off my plate, right? So there aren't hard and fast rules. You have to work the way that's right for you, your comfort level, and that gives you that balance. But where you need to make sure you're doing is anytime you're getting back to somebody, answer their question, solve their problem, be a problem solver. And I think that's where they build the trust in you, Like I emailed Dean yesterday at 7:30 at night, and when I get back to them at 7:30 in the morning or 8:30 in the morning, I'm solving their problem or answering their question. I think once they build that trust in you, then you can be more confident and comfortable not responding right away. And I always say this, like, nobody's going to go down as, like, when they say, how was so and so as the golf professional at your club, like, oh, he was the best emailer ever. You know, he was great at it. You need to be responsive. So you need to set boundaries. Like, you need to get back in X number of hours. But it's, you know, I try to train, I think internally, by answering this way, train members that if you need me, you need something right away, call the golf shop, call me. But if you need something right away, you know, we're not using email as a text chain back and forth. But, you know, be responsive and solve their problems. And then, you know, there's less, they know what that you're going to do that for them. Anybody else?
Go ahead, George. You can unmute yourself. George, you're on mute there.
Dean, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
What do you do if your office is right off the shop floor and people don't respect the boundary of your door being closed because you're scheduling yourself to take care of emails or tournament prep?
Yeah. So I think especially, so it's, a lot of us have offices right in the golf shop, and we could feel like if our doors shut, we're, you know, shutting ourselves off from our members and our customers. We need to understand that if you have stuff that you need to knock out, then don't try to do that at lunchtime on a Friday in your office. You need to find time where it's going to be quieter. So that's either getting in there an hour earlier than you would have, or maybe it's finding, there's a little trick I use a lot of times in the summer when the weather's good. I'll get to work early. I know that if I come in my office, it doesn't matter what time, my caddy masters follow me right in, starting with questions. So I'll kind of sneak in. I have a place in the back patio in the corner where I'll go and knock out some work. And maybe that's a half an hour or 45 minutes where I can work uninterrupted and get that stuff done, because I know once I walk into my office, that time is gone. Or, you know, stopping at Starbucks on your way to work, leave work a little bit earlier, swing into Starbucks, get a cup of coffee. This is pre-COVID. I used to do this and sit there and knock out a half an hour worth of uninterrupted work. And, you know, that's a great tactic to use, but that's where planning ahead and putting this stuff on your calendar really pays off.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead there, George.
Yeah, first of all, Dean, thanks so much for presenting this. It's a marvelous topic, and I can't see any topic that would be more important for all of us. It's a daunting task with all this stuff coming at you every day.
Yeah, thanks, George.
I guess my question would be, I've always been sort of detail-oriented, and I find that sometimes to be a double-edged sword unless I prioritize the detail. I love getting things off my plate. So if something comes up, I want to get it done before I move on to the next one. I know that's not always the best way to do it. So any help with that? Any advice for that?
So being detail oriented, details matter in our business. I think we say that all the time, and it's true. The little things matter. The little details that you use in your tournament operations, they matter. But not every detail matters. So I had a professional who's not in our section anymore, we were running an event with, and he sent me his player list. I needed player names and GIN numbers is all I needed. He sent me the most elaborate, beautiful spreadsheet I've ever seen with 10 different fonts and logos and everything on it. And all I could do, and then I played golf with this guy, and he's telling me how busy he is. And I'm just thinking, well, he's doing a great job, but, you know, again, not every detail matters. Now, when it comes to feeling like you need to get things off your plate, that is the challenge with email, because these things come in and it's like, oh, I just want to get back to that person and respond. Well, if you have time to do that, that's fine. But one trick to get away from that is in your email, work from the bottom up. All right. So you have 25 emails in your inbox. Some you might have 250 in your inbox or whatever. That's a different story, but work from the bottom up. Therefore, you're getting things aren't slipping through the cracks. And you're training yourself to not just respond to the top and the first things as they fly in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dean, Thomas Michaels asked, a lot of members have his cell phone. How do you manage text during non-work hours?
Yeah, I usually just don't answer. I use the same. It depends. If I'm at a time where I have time to do it, that's fine. But last night I got a text at 9 o'clock at night from a member. One, it's 9 o'clock at night. Two, our club's closed right now. I have my out of office up for a week doing a little staycation. But and he's asking me about where he can play golf in Orlando in the third week in February. So I haven't gotten back to him yet. I'm going to get back to him with a bunch of answers, and I'm going to offer to help him. But I think, you have to feel confident knowing that this person just texted me right now. I'm watching TV with my family. I don't have to get back to him right now. And I'm confident enough that I'm going to produce the results for him that he needs, that I don't have to try to impress him just by getting back to him right away. The text thing is getting challenging. I think there's some positives with it in that you don't have to write a whole drawn out, elaborate email, dear Mr. So-and-so, thank blah, blah, blah. It can be quicker, but you should put the same restrictions that you do on text that you do email. It's just another way to communicate. And if you put you build up those limits in your head, and be responsive. Don't let it go. You can't forget. That's the thing. If they think you're forgetting or you don't get back to them, now you've lost their trust. But if they trust that I know he's going to get back to me and I know he's going to solve my problem, then really what can they say?
So at the end of the day, Dean, you're training them instead of them setting the parameters for that. So, if all of a sudden you texted him at 9 o'clock, he's going to expect a text back at 9 o'clock every time he texts you, right?
Exactly. But our holding up our end of the bargain is you can't miss the message, right? You have to get back to them. And again, you have to solve their problem. So you have to be responsive, but within certain parameters. That's about knowing your priorities. Communication with our members is huge. There might not be anything more important than communication as a whole. But, we have to set limits on it. And that's when I talked about the old mentality with this new technology. They didn't used to be able to get you after hours. When you got home, you were at home. And there are times where you need to build that into your personal system. There are other times where you don't. Honestly, if I wasn't doing anything last night and I wanted to get back to him at 9 o'clock, I certainly could have. But to Jeff's point, I am trying to train them to understand that, we're not on all the time. It's I won't go on much longer about this, but this is the point I always use. Why do we get so many emails on Mondays from our members? Why is our inbox so much smaller on the weekends? Because they're not working. They took the weekend off, right? They're not firing emails at us on Saturday and Sunday. They're with their families. They're playing golf. They're at a soccer game, whatever. And then they get to their office and fire those emails at us on Mondays. We deserve the same thing, right? So we are customer service professionals, but we deserve the same rights that our members have of having time with our families and having our free time as well.
Dean, did you have to deal with the anxiety of not checking your emails all the time? Did you have kind of like almost like a withdrawal from, setting times when you were going to check your email versus, having those notifications on and responding immediately?
Yeah, and I still do. I know one of the things that you can run into without having the notifications on is just wondering if you have any emails and just going back and hitting that button on your phone. Honestly, if there's nothing else going on, go ahead and do it. Or you're not feeling stressed, you're not feeling overwhelmed. It's more so for those times where it's more healthy for you to break away and have some time away. That turning those notifications off and scheduling that time for email is most important. All this stuff really matters more the busier we are. So right now, if you're getting 3 emails a day and you check them whenever you want to, that's fine. There's not a whole lot of other things going on. But when your schedule's full, your calendar's full during the season, you've been putting in a lot of hours, that's when mentally you need more of a break from that. And you really need to commit to, okay, I'm not going to obsessively check my email. I'm going to schedule time to do it. It's no different than, trying to improve your golf game. You need to change your habits and be consistent about it if you want to see results.
Any other questions? Okay.
Well, if anybody has any that pop up, don't email me. I'm not going to check my email. No, I'm just kidding. No, but reach out anytime. Happy to help. There are some resources on my site if you want to go through that. Yeah, just reach out. We can chat about it anytime.
I have Dean's cell phone if anybody wants to text him, so it's no problem.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dean.